any semblance of liability, responsibility, and gullibility, we must tell you the views represented on this show are not necessarily those of this station or its management. This radio show contains differing points of view on current political topics, and due to the nature of its contents, it should be heard by everyone. Thank you for listening. 3, 2, 1. Now live from the Devil Radio Studios in Madison, Wisconsin, where the political party is just beginning. Welcome to the Devil's Advocate Show. Friends proving it's never personal, only politics.
Please allow me to introduce myself.
Here is your host, Mike Crute.
Welcome to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show, the Thursday edition. Got Luker on the board today. Luke, thanks for sticking around. Luke, of course, the host of Dueling Tangents. He and Fancy Brian. Brian's closer to home today. So I got the next best thing. I got Luker on the board. Thank you, Luke.
Next man up.
Next man up.
Happy to do it.
And eventually I'll have another man up. We'll welcome Evan at some point. Kyle Rittenhouse has sort of dominated the week's discussion. The trial going on in Kenosha, Wisconsin, and that's not so far from here. And we've been watching and waiting. I'm waiting on an answer. Kind of reminds me of that. You might be too young for this. The old Heinz commercial. Anticipation. You remember that? Where you're like Heinz ketchup, you know? I believe the Secretary of State, John Kerry, I believe his wife, Teresa Heinz, I believe she was an heiress to the Heinz ketchup fortune. But the Heinz ketchup comes out of the bottle slow, and part of their marketing campaign was anticipation. Anyways, too young for that, apparently.
Yes.
But I've been feeling that way all day. I have a nothing burger without my Heinz ketchup and my jury verdict in Kenosha. Anyways, so we'll do the best we can. I got some updates. 9 a.m. Thursday, that's today, the jury has gathered and resumed deliberations. This marks day 14 of the trial and day 3 of deliberations. The jury spent roughly 15 hours deliberating since Tuesday. Well, we could bump that up. 12 hours a day until you get a verdict. Jurors again did not appear in Judge Bruce Schrader's courtroom before reconvening, so they didn't pop into the courtroom. There have been some strange stories overnight. Apparently, an MSNBC stringer / independent got caught chasing the jury van, got caught by local police, cited for running a red light. And we'll share this story, but the judge of the case has banned him as DNC from the courthouse. So anyways, that's the way the righties say it. You know what else is happening in Kenosha? The schools are out. They let off school for this trial, or at least for the expected verdict coming soon, perhaps today. 5 Kenosha schools have moved to virtual learning. This reporting of the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel moved to virtual learning because of their proximity to the courthouse. Kenosha Unified School District has already moved Harborside Academy, a charter school for grades 6 through 12, Runther Central High School, an alternative high school, to virtual learning for Tuesday and Wednesday. Now Harborside and Runther, as well as 3 other nearby schools, will be virtual through Friday. Doesn't that mean, well, I guess they might have a couple more days before the Thanksgiving holiday. I'm like, man, you're out for 2 weeks, basically. It's like a pandemic. According to a letter the district sent to parents, the decision was made because the schools are close to the courthouse. I guess this is all about proximity, where an increasing number of demonstrators have been gathering since the jury began deliberations. Plus, the district said many students walk to and from those schools. Here is a statement, a letter. Well, we've not been advised of any existing imminent danger. We feel this is the best course of action to protect our students and staff during an uncertain time. We will continue to work closely with law enforcement to receive support as needed in the days and weeks ahead. The schools, the schools going virtual are Harborside, Ruther, Brass Community School, Frank Elementary, and Washington Middle School. So the kids are happy. Well, parents probably less so. The kids don't have to go to school today. Jacob Blake. Now, Jacob Blake was the man that was wounded and apparently paralyzed by the officer in the Kenosha shooting. Jacob Blake was the black man. Now he, has a questionable record, and whether or not he was kidnapping his kids or whether or not he was taking a vehicle without permission, that's all secondary at this point to the fact he got shot in the back like 7 times. And the community of Kenosha responded almost instantly. I mean, that set off a lot of unrest. And within a couple of days, it set off the Rittenhouse shootings. And the governor of the state of Wisconsin is being eviscerated on right-wing talk radio. Hell, they've been doing this since it happened in August of 2020, since these tragic actions at the hands of this, juvenile vigilante. But today, and I'm going to call him a victim, Jacob Blake, the victim of the police shooting, now no charges in that case. And there wasn't even any sort of, a formal reprimand. Nothing. The cop apparently was exonerated of any wrongdoing in this case, or at least didn't receive any sort of citation. But that man, Jacob Blake, today called for peace following the verdict. In an interview with TMZ, Jacob Blake and Kyle Rittenhouse shouldn't have been in Kenosha as people protested his shooting, and he called for peace following the jury's decision. Blake, who was shot 7 times by a Kenosha police officer last summer, said he had forgiven the officer, Rustin Shesky, and was worried when he heard Shesky's address was published online. Blake told TMZ he believed there was a racial double standard in how police dealt with Rittenhouse, who was in Kenosha protecting. Now, careful how you write this, Journal Sentinel, who was in Kenosha protecting an empty used car dealership during the unrest following Blake's shooting. At whose bequest? Rittenhouse got preferential treatment throughout the case because he is white, Blake said. The judge seems like he really likes the guy. That according to Blake. Yeah, it does seem that way, Jacob. The kid might not be a bad person. I'm not saying he's a bad person at all. But what he did, he shouldn't have been there. Blake said he wished the demonstrations last year didn't escalate to the point where it caused a riot. He also said he hoped the result of Rittenhouse's trial didn't spark more unrest. I don't know if they're going to riot, if they're going to protest off of this, but I'm hoping whatever the outcome is, there's none of that, because it's not going to fix nothing. It's not going to fix anything. Destroying stuff does not fix stuff, Blake said. Paralyzed from the waist down from his shooting, Blake said he is often in severe pain. He's become a believer in God since being shot because he survived, he said. Every bullet, except for the 2 that hit my arm, that's 5 bullets that should have killed me, but they didn't, he said. Well, I guess in, some people's thoughts, thank God. Now, let's talk about the guy who is chasing the jury pool, or at least he is alleged to have been chasing the jury pool. And this apparently has led to some kerfluffle where Judge Schrader has banned MSNBC or NBC from the courthouse. Maybe it's just MSNBC. Now, here is how it's being reported. Kenosha police detained man trying to photograph jurors. Kenosha police briefly detained and cited a man who police believe tried photographing jurors in the Kyle Rittenhouse trial. Judge Bruce Schrader called the lawyers together to comment on the matter, saying someone claiming to be employed by NBC or MSNBC was following the bus that transports jurors to and from the courthouse. It wasn't immediately clear if the man is, in fact, employed by either network. My understanding is he was not, but Schrader said nobody affiliated with MSNBC would be allowed in the courthouse. This is an extremely serious matter. Schrader, the judge, we've talked about him quite a bit. Jurors are ferried to and from the courthouse in a bus, and the windows covered to protect their anonymity. Schrader said the man followed the bus Wednesday evening from a distance of about a block and ran a red light to stay on its tail, he said. Kenosha police said they issued the man several traffic-related citations, and they're still investigating the matter. However, there was no breach of security regarding the jury, and no photographs were taken, according to police. Now, earlier Thursday morning, the media liaison with the Kenosha County Courthouse entered the media workroom, accompanied by a police officer. They said they were looking for someone affiliated with NBC or MSNBC. A representative from NBC later said police asked him to verify if someone worked for either network. He told police the person in question did not. The man in question said he was told to follow the bus by a supervisor who works in New York. Additionally, Kenosha police clarified Thursday morning that a reported shooting near a protest on the courthouse steps did not happen. The report initially came from a Facebook group monitoring police scanner traffic. Another attempt at disinformation, police said. But there was a guy with a long gun. There was a guy with a gun that showed up at the Kenosha County Courthouse. And did you hear this guy was a former cop in Ferguson, Missouri? You remember Ferguson?
Yeah, I remember Ferguson, but I heard he also goes by a name, specifically Maserati Matt?
Maserati Mike.
Maserati Mike. Oh.
My Maserati goes 185. Maserati Mike identified as the fired Missouri police officer, the man who called himself Maserati Mike, and showed up Wednesday with a long rifle outside the Kenosha County Courthouse, is a fired Ferguson, Missouri police officer. Jesse T. Klein confirmed his identity to the paper that reporting here. In recent days, Klein has been seen outside the Kenosha County Courthouse as the jury deliberates in the trial of Rittenhouse. On Wednesday, when he showed up with a long rifle, Kenosha County Sheriff's deputies asked him to put the rifle away. He complied. He's been walking around with a gun case and apparently a bullhorn. He's been parading with the dog. According to media reports, Klein was arrested in August of 2018 in the St. Louis suburb of Maplewood. He allegedly followed a woman he had been in a romantic relationship with to another man's house and threatened to kill him with a gun. Come back, more devils.
If you love them enough to barely sleep, then surely you'll check nhtsa.gov/the-right-seat to make sure they're in the right car seat. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
600,000 Wisconsin families are receiving checks to help take care of their kids thanks to the expanded child tax credit passed by Joe Biden and congressional Democrats. Ron Johnson voted against these checks for Wisconsin families, despite voting for a 2017 tax break that put more money into the pockets of millionaires like himself. It's time to vote Ron Johnson out of office. MoveOn.org political action, paid for and is responsible for the content of this advertising. Poll.moveon.org, not authorized by any candidate or candidates committee.
President Trump lost the election. Joe Biden won the election.
Collectively, Republicans got 1.661 million votes, 51,000 more votes than Trump got.
He exhausted his cases. He exhausted the court challenges.
All the Republicans voted for Trump the way they voted for the assembly candidates. He would have won.
It was not rigged. It was not stolen. Donald Trump lost the election. Joe Biden won the election. It's really clear.
This message was paid for by the People for People Corporation. Donate online at p4ppc.org.
19, brought to you by CDC and the Ad Council.
Feeling increasingly lonely right now? You're not alone. Try joining a virtual book club or scheduling an online coffee break with coworkers to connect.
Find more self-care and coping tips at coping-19.org.
Hi, Don from Wisco Home Goods here. Jeremy and I handcraft our 100% non-toxic candles from locally sourced materials in our Madison, Wisconsin facility. Wisco Home Goods candles come in a variety of unique blends and scents that you're sure to love. Add a little warmth to your home as the days get colder with one of our Midnight Cypress or Up North candles. Order at wiscohomegoods.com. Natural, healthy, nourishing candles and more at wiscohomegoods.com.
Charged, never convicted. the Devil's Advocates.
Welcome back to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show, the Thursday afternoon edition. I guess we're in the late afternoon. At least it feels like it. You know, when it gets dark at like 4:30 in the upper Midwest, you gotta enjoy what daylight you get. We are still weighing on the jury in Kenosha, and the later in the day this wanes, and the longer that we don't hear that the jury is in and there is a decision, the greater the likelihood they will go to another day of deliberations. But you got to think they're going to want to wrap this up before Thanksgiving, right? I mean, Turkey Day. Nobody wants to miss Turkey Day and the football and the giblets, all that good stuff. We talked about the fact that Kenosha schools had gone to virtual, or at least 5 schools had, because of proximity to the Kenosha County Courthouse. And if you've got opinions on this or updates that perhaps I'm missing, 844-967-2789. Want to hear from you. Want to know what you think. The longer the jury goes, does that mean anything? I mean, it always seems to in the movies, in the TV shows, if the jury's out for a longer period of time, seemingly they're either hung and they can't arrive at any sort of conclusion, consensus, or they're getting closer and closer to a verdict, be that guilty or not guilty. But I think if there was an immediate dismissal, if there was going to be, you didn't meet the burden of proof, if that was their feeling towards the prosecutor, I think they probably, would have been done by now. Day 3 of deliberations continue. Devil's Advocates Radio Show continues. Your phone calls always welcome. 844-967-2789. So the jury had some questions. As CNN is reporting, they wrote some handwritten notes. Some of these pretty straightforward. Can we have 11 copies of pages 1 through 6 of the instructions? Apparently, presiding juror is juror number 54. So juror number 54, apparently leading the pool. I believe 7 women and 5 men on the jury pool. And I'm not, trying to read too deep into the tea leaves, but I like the penmanship. This may be a man or a woman's, but if I had to venture a guess, this is too neat to be Luke. So it's probably a female. Maybe. There are some other scribbled notes here that are, perhaps that of a man. Who knows? Do we view the videos in private or in the courtroom? And then the judge, and you can tell he's a man because he scribbles a little cursive in courtroom. Do we need to know exact exhibit number of video or photos? General description of what you would like. And then here's another one. View video starting with Mr. Grosskreutz interview with Mr. Rittenhouse to 10 seconds after Mr. Grosskreutz shooting in regular and slow motion. And can we stop and start the video at our request? ? That one's not answered directly. Here's an interesting thing, though. Apparently, the request to look at this video again, the video, especially from the drone being the overhead video of this shooting, has inspired the defense to once again request a mistrial. And the newest rationale apparently is that the prosecution team had a higher resolution on this than the defendants were offered, the defense team, during discovery. All the evidence got to be shared, right? Let me see if I can find this. They have asked the court a handful of questions so far, including requests to rewatch much of the video evidence of the shootings. One of those videos, a drone video showing Rittenhouse shooting Joseph Rosenbaum. Now, again, Rosenbaum was the first guy Rittenhouse shot. Rittenhouse shot this guy before he was later threatened by a guy with a gun. Rosenbaum is accused of throwing a plastic bag at him and making prior threats that were never captured on video, although there are tons of video of the entire night. So anyways, the jurors asked to rewatch much of the video evidence of the shooting. In one of those videos, a drone video showing Rittenhouse shooting Joseph Rosenbaum is at the heart of a defense request for a mistrial in the case. The jury watched that video and FBI surveillance video Wednesday afternoon for 45 minutes in the courtroom. Prosecutors received a high-definition version of the drone video mid-trial, but Rittenhouse's defense team say it received a compressed, lower-quality version from the prosecution, which described it as a technical glitch. The defense learned about the discrepancy after testimony ended, and so asked the judge to declare a mistrial. And not only that, but here they go again. The defense also filed a motion for a mistrial with prejudice, meaning no new charges could be brought. You couldn't retry this case, meaning the state would not be able to retry Rittenhouse. I think I said that, for intentional prosecutorial overreach related to the prosecution's line of questioning during Rittenhouse's testimony last week. Now, that was already been asked of the court. And here we got the judge, Bruce Schroeder, and he hasn't ruled on either motion. So you've got two motions for mistrial, one with prejudice, one accusing the prosecutor of talking about the fact that Rittenhouse, remained silent. Well, he has the right to remain silent. And the judge lost his mind and chastised the prosecutor, Thomas Binger. And the defense, of course, would certainly like to see a dismissal of all charges, a mistrial, and with prejudice, so no new trial. And the judge is just kind of letting it linger out there. We don't know what the judge is going to rule. And then there's this other technical issue of whether or not the defense got proper resolution on video provided by the prosecutor, and the fact that they might have had a more pixelated video, did that somehow, justify a mistrial? Another question, a differing question, a legal question. And the judge hasn't told us in either case how he intends to rule, despite the fact the jury's been out deliberating for like 3 days. Devil's Advocates Radio Show. We're going to move on from Rittenhouse soon, unless you call it 844-967-2789. Also, got some new polling, and Joe Biden. Will he run again? Should he run again? Is he still your guy? I know he's our president, but is he still your favorite Democratic candidate? I mean, he'll be 81 in 2024. Let's talk about it. More Devils.
This is the radio station you were looking for. Devil Radio 92.7. It surrounds us. It penetrates us. It binds the world together.
Help me, Devil Radio. You're my only hope.
Wisconsin. You know that Drew Holiday and Brooke Lopez are champions on the court. But did you know they're also champions for our community?
Hey, Wisconsinites. Drew Holiday here.
And Brooke Lopez here.
I love being a champion.
And today I'm asking you to be a champion too. A champion citizen.
Defend your right to vote and exercise your freedom to vote. I want you to make sure you're registered to vote.
It's more important now than ever because politicians are trying to restrict our freedom to vote.
I think I know why.
They're worried about our power.
So they want to take it away.
Don't let them do that.
You've got to block that shot.
So please register to vote and get out to vote. Just go to myvote.wi.gov.
myvote.wi.gov.
Defend your right to vote and exercise your freedom to vote. That's how you can be a champion too.
Just go to myvote.wi.gov to register to vote. Paid for by the Wisconsin Democracy Campaign.
Coronavirus update. I'm Ed Donahue with an AP News Minute. Stocks finished mixed. The Dow down 60 points. The number of virus cases is surging in the Midwest. Some schools in Michigan are keeping students home ahead of Thanksgiving. The military is sending medical teams to Minnesota to relieve overwhelmed hospital staffs. While Pfizer waits for approval of its experimental coronavirus pill, it's ready to sell courses to the government.
Pfizer asked the FDA this week to authorize the potential treatment, which has been shown to significantly cut hospitalizations and deaths among infected people. If regulators approve the pill, the government's agreed to buy 10 million treatment courses for about $529 each. It already had a deal to pay roughly $700 each for courses of Merck's competing pill, which the FDA is now reviewing. Sagar Magani, Washington.
The number of people filing for unemployment last week fell for the 7th straight week to a new pandemic low. I'm Ed Donahue.
Finding the right Medicare plan may feel impossible, but now it's anything but.
With Walgreens Find RX coverage tool, you can compare plans online, over the phone, or in person, making Medicare easier than ever. Easier than picking which true crime doc to watch, figuring out that Wi-Fi password, or putting the duvet cover back on. So if you can do those things, with Find RX coverage, you can definitely Medicare. Find the plan that's right for you by visiting walgreens.com/Medicare.
Are you wasting money on a timeshare you rarely use? Cancel it with Titan Exit Group. Get a free consultation and see how they can stop the never-ending maintenance fees and mortgage payments. In fact, if your timeshare contract is not terminated, you owe nothing, so you have nothing to lose. But those monthly fees. Get legally released from your timeshare, 100% guaranteed. Call now for your free consultation at 800-200-0894. 800-200-0894.
For Devil Radio 92.7 FM and WTTN 1580 AM. I'm Luke Mathers with your headlines. This week, the Madison Police Department released the findings of an independent review of the department's response and handling of protests throughout 2020. The report led to 69 recommendations for the Madison Police, which Police Chief Sean Barnes stated he plans to implement all of. Conclusions from the independent review of the department recommended further crowd control training for officers, increased dialogue among police officers and those attending a protest, and potential for body-worn cameras among officers at future protests. On Wednesday, Dane County Executive Joe Parisi signed the 2022 budget for Dane County, passed last week by the county board. When signing the budget, Executive Parisi stated it puts a focus on the health and well-being of Dane County. The largest new expense within the 2022 county budget is the construction of a $10 million crisis triage center for individuals suffering from mental health or substance abuse. You're listening to Devil Radio.
Malarkey. The devil's advocates invented malarkey.
Welcome back to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show. The phone lines, they're open. They stay open for your phone calls at 844-967-2789. And you can text at that very same line, unless you're George. You're not welcome, George. A couple of Democrats have made announcements. They're retiring. They're not running again. Democratic Rep J.K. Butterfield of North Carolina announced Thursday he would not seek re-election in 22, all but blaming his decision to retire on congressional maps, redrawn maps, gerrymandered maps. Butterfield is the latest Democrat to say he'll leave Congress as the party seeks to maintain a slim majority in the House in the upcoming 22 elections, the midterms. Butterfield is the 16th Democrat to announce plans to leave the chamber this cycle, following Rep. Jackie Spear of California, who made her plans on Tuesday. It's time for me to retire and allow the torch to be passed to someone who shares the values of the district. Yeah, I hope so. We need the votes, and the dues, but mostly the votes. So the Democrats are starting to retire. Tell us they're not running for re-election. And of course, he's not on the ticket per se, but the current president, the incumbent, always on the ticket. But here's the question I keep seeing asked more and more in political headlines. Democrats question this from thehill.com. Democrats question whether Biden will actually run in 2024. Joe Biden, is he going to run again? Well, right now he is very unpopular, and that's sad to say. It's not amongst us Democrats. I mean, all things considered, Joe's very popular with the Democrats. Hell, Joe is more popular with Democrats, to my understanding, than Donald Trump is with Republicans. So think about that for just a minute. So when I say that Joe Biden's unpopular currently in the polling, well, that's primarily a reflection. Of course, we know the Republicans don't like the man, but independents are starting to lose faith in Joe a little bit. And Joe was sort of that middle ground guy, that bridge, sort of from a past generation, perhaps to a future generation. And Kamala Harris, his vice president, of course, was supposed to be part of the team. And we've got some sound from her from today as well. And I haven't heard from the vice president, not in some time. So we might share a little bit of that. But the Democrats, they're starting to wonder. And I don't know if this is a gentle nudge, like, hey, sir, retirement's nice, don't you think, Joe? Let's read a bit. The number of Democrats, pardon me, screwed it up right from the first word. A number of Democrats are privately questioning whether President Biden will run for re-election amid anemic approval ratings and rising worries about next year's midterms. Well, I don't think he'll make the decision until, perhaps after we determine if the Dems lose the House, if somehow they miraculously retain the House, or if it is a crushing red wave sort of election and we are vastly outnumbered. And if they had that sort of a quote unquote mandate from the people, I have no doubt that Republicans will promptly impeach Joe Biden. I've been saying that for a while. Probably start with Afghanistan. But anyways, here's the point. Electability was always the number one issue in the last election. It's why Joe Biden won the primary. They're going to be contingent out there that believes that, if it's Trump again, this time around, we have to have Biden again, says one Democratic aide who worked with the different presidential campaign, if you will. But if Biden's approval rating stays where it is, if we have a rough midterm cycle, if he can't deliver on his entire agenda, is he still considered the most electable candidate? Question mark. And I'm asking you too, the audience. Joe Biden was not my guy. He's my president, no doubt. But he wasn't my guy. I mean, I was all in for Bernie Sanders, all the way back to probably July of 2015 when he showed up in Madison, Wisconsin and turned him out like it was a rock concert. And I said, there is a movement afoot. And I like this guy. I'm going to follow this guy. I was a Bernie guy. Anyone that's been listening long enough knows I was a Bernie Sanders guy. And I thought Bernie was well on his way to, an electoral victory. And I know he was going to have some troubles in Florida, and there was pushback from Cuban populations and different stuff. He's a Marxist, he's a socialist, he's Bernie. But he had done pretty well in Iowa, and he won New Hampshire, and he won Nevada. And then came South Carolina. Then came the endorsement of James Clyburn. The rest of it's the history. We know perhaps Barack Obama put his thumb on the scale and pushed a few other good Dems to endorse Joe Biden because he was the right candidate. He was the electable candidate. And now here we are, less than a year into his term. And I'm not trying to spell his doom. I'm hoping this new infrastructure deal and perhaps a bigger one still. Prove me wrong, Joe Biden. Prove me wrong, Democrats. I hope I've been wrong on this issue. I hope you get 2 bites at the apple and double the pleasure with an infrastructure deal. And I hope Crudy's wrong on this. And if he is, then Joe Biden and the Dems, maybe they got something to go run on in the midterms. And I would be thankful for it. And I'll help them sell this bill right here on the radio. But as we stand today, Joe Biden's in big trouble. The Democratic agenda's in big trouble. The midterms going to be a problem for us, folks. I mean, they've already probably even the chamber talking about the Republicans just predicated on the strength of the gerrymander process. The number of legislative districts that are cast by Republicans already, maps that have already been approved, probably have us about that even in the chamber before a single vote is cast. You got 16 Democrats have already announced they're not running for re-election. A lot of people are afraid of what's coming down the pike. And the question is Joe Biden the guy? I mean, I know he's the guy. I know he's the president. And we don't want to turn him into, a lame duck. You would prefer Joe Biden run as an incumbent. Or maybe you wouldn't. Not if his approval ratings are 38 to 42%. How'd that work out for the last guy that ran with approval ratings from 38 to 42%? I think we call him the former president, soon to be indicted, Donald Trump. 844-967-2789. I asked for callers. We got at least a start here. Matt from Johnson's Creek. Welcome back, Matt. What do you got for us?
Hey, Crudy. So I'm not as worried. I don't, and I'm not blaming you when I say the media. I think the media has been drunk for 4 or 5 years on just the hot mess and disarray. That it was so easy to cover Trump and just all the things that would go on inter-party, and that they're looking for these disarray, Dems are crazy and can't control anything narrative, when in reality, like you said, what could the Dems run on? Well, the either the Build Back Better or just the infrastructure bill are actually so popular and so good that you've got Republicans that voted against it are actually running on the success of that bill. So I don't know. I feel like sometimes they want these stories because a hot mess is a lot easier to write than sensible policies that you see coming out of a Biden administration.
Well, let me ask you, man. Let me ask you this one. CNN had a report, I believe, earlier this week or perhaps in the last week. The vice president, Kamala Harris, and the perhaps jilted or broken relationship between the White House and the second in command. And some say that she's being underutilized. She's being, pushed to the fringe. I don't see her out there in many public events. And of course, in public, she laughs it off and says, oh, no, it's not a problem. But Matt, she was supposed to be, the passing of the torch was supposed to go to Kamala Harris. And if Joe's got anemic poll numbers right now, Matt, Kamala's got worse poll numbers. Weren't we supposed to be building her up to be the next? Isn't that part of the deal? And if Joe, to the perception of the American people, or God forbid, some health consequence comes up, Joe would hand off the torch. But if Kamala had to go defend as the incumbent right now, VP or effectively president, because Joe had to step down for some health reason, I'm not sure that she would win. And I'm not entirely sure that Joe would win, even if Donald Trump was that opponent, man. I mean, it's scary. The American people, by one of the greatest margins, I think, in history, have said that they want Republicans in control of the Congress. That's scary as hell, Matt.
I don't disagree. I think she is in a tough spot, though, because all throughout the campaign, she had to fight back this conspiracy theory that she's running a shadow government. So you throw her out there to do anything, and it's, see, we told you so, or you hide her away when really it's not that different. If you look back at Pence's first 2 years, Gore's first 2 years, Cheney was an anomaly because of 9/11, and even Joe Biden's first 2 years, they didn't do anything. It's not their administration. I feel like I think it's more common than we want to admit. Pence was huge during the COVID rollout. He was given that job, but I couldn't tell you one thing he did at the beginning of the Trump era. I couldn't tell you one thing Biden did at the beginning besides, I couldn't honestly tell you anything Biden did during the Trump era besides maybe let the cat out of the bag on ending marriage inequality. But I don't know. I think she's in a tough spot where if she does try to go out, be effective, and be anything close to a leader, that people are going to say, oh, see, well, it's just like we said. Joe's senile, and she's actually running the country with Obama and whatever else, whatever crazy conspiracy.
But we can't govern predicated on what Republicans are going to say, right? I mean, Republicans are going to say what they're going to say. Tucker Carlson, I believe yesterday on his show, said Kamala Harris, she's not even an American. Sort of harkens back to apparently because she spent some time living in Canada in her youth because her mom worked up there. But sort of echoes of Obama delegitimizing perhaps the future nominee of the Democratic Party. And I appreciate your call, man. Thank you, man. Thank you for joining us. 844-967-2789. I got some sound from the vice president. I think there's time to play some of this. If we could, Luker, let's go to the VP and let's start with cut number 30, if we could. And, I'm trying to get the discussion started about 2024, and you can be a part of it at 844-967-2789. But she was asked a question, and here is how Kamala Harris responded. Cut 30, Luke.
So you're not discussing 2024 yet?
Absolutely not.
Absolutely not. Well, that's what talk radio is for. A little bit more from the VP. Again, talking about the Biden agenda overall. Cut 31.
Absolutely clear-eyed that there is a lot more to do, and we're going to get it done.
What about the bottleneck in the supply chain? VP Harris, cut 32.
We're seeing a bottleneck, and we need to relieve that bottleneck. So we brought together everyone from the Teamsters to Target to say, hey, let's all bring everyone together, from the truckers to the folks who are moving product, and let's open up some of our major ports for work 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
Okay, so those are some proposed solutions. Think long term, says Kamala Harris, cut 33.
Long term, we need to bring down the cost of living, and that's a long-standing issue.
And one more. What about the polls? What about the polls, Kamala? Cut 34, please.
Polls, they go up, they go down. But I think what is most important is that we remain consistent with what we need to do to deal with the issues that we're presented with at this moment.
Well, the polls, they certainly do go up and they go down, and everyone loses favor in the American people's eye, especially when they're not delivering, not fast enough, not quickly enough for the appetites of the American people. Now, I think I saw recent polling, 70% of the people say they don't like the direction of the economy currently. They're concerned. And what was the old James Carville adage? It's the economy, stupid. Well, I'm worried about that. Although I think there's, some bright spots in the economy. And also there's some information, apparently vast underreporting of the hiring over the course of the summer. And I saw some headlines about that today as well. Go figure. The vast undercount of jobs this summer, the great, like one of the greatest miscounts since 1979, since the history of this report. Oh yeah, it's a Donald Trump holdover. Don't think he meant to do that, do you? Sort of undercount, depress the numbers, depress the sentiment for the current president. Well, the last president, he's losing his freaking mind because Joe Biden passed infrastructure and he never could. And Joe might get a second one. Number two, a second bite at the apple. And if you do, Joe, you got something to sell. And you got a great platform right here, Devil Radio, to do it on 844-967-2789. Run, Joe, run, question mark. Perhaps we'll talk more.
Stories come to life at your local parks and forests. They're places of wonder, and they're closer than you think. Make the forest part of your story today at a local park near you, or find one at discovertheforest.org. Brought to you by the United States Forest Service and the Ad Council.
600,000 Wisconsin families are receiving checks to help take care of their kids thanks to the expanded child tax credit passed by Joe Biden and congressional Democrats. Ron Johnson voted against these checks for Wisconsin families, despite voting for a 2017 tax break that put more money into the pockets of millionaires like himself. It's time to vote Ron Johnson out of office. MoveOn.org political action, paid for and is responsible for the content of this advertising. Poll.moveon.org, not authorized by any candidate or candidates committee.
Spruce up your home with non-toxic vegan candles from Wisco Home Goods. I'm Don, one of the owners of this family-owned Midwestern business in Madison, Wisconsin. Our candles are 100% sustainable and come in a variety of unique blends and scents that make a perfect holiday gift. Plus, at Wisco Home Goods, we believe in giving back. With our Do Good, Smell Good campaign, a portion of the proceeds go to local charities. So support a Midwestern company that supports our local communities. Order now at wiscohomegoods.com.
Being a father is an honor, a challenge, a duty, a celebration, and a testimony. I want to be legendary for you because I found everything to live for.
That's dedication. Visit fatherhood.gov to hear more. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
I'm not down for voter suppression in my
No,
state.
right. This. It's got to be easy. It was great to have these options. We should have these options. We should have days off for people to go vote. We should expand the availability, the ease of our own citizens in this country to participate in self-governance. Republicans, why are you so opposed to that?
Because they lose those elections.
Listen to Devil's Advocates weekdays from 2 to 5 p.m.
The Devil's Advocates, tackling the issues you're not allowed to talk about at the dinner table.
Got to let me know.
Welcome back to the Devil's Advocates radio show. My cousin Patrick played this song for me on Christmas Day, 1982. I still remember it. First time I had ever heard The Clash. It stuck. I liked them. There is some breaking news, according to CNN. This, not earth-shattering, but sort of topically fits with what we're talking about. You can be a part of the conversation. Phone lines, they're open, 844-967-2789. Here's the breaking news. Vice President Kamala Harris's communication director, Ashley Ettenine, is leaving the administration. I'm not sure if I pronounced her name properly, but that's not uncommon for me. According to the White House official, to pursue other opportunities, not spend more time with family. Nine's departure comes after CNN detailed significant tension between West Wing aides and the vice president's office. CNN reported that several people on Harris's staff had started to reach out to contacts to say they're looking to leave, according to sources who had gotten calls. Now, here's what they said about the departing. Ashley is a valued member of the vice president's team who has worked tirelessly to advance the goals of this administration for 10 months? I mean, I've had some short-term, employment, but longer than that generally. She's leaving the office in December to pursue other opportunities. Apparently, Vanity Fair, the first to report the departure. Harris on Thursday morning downplayed concerns over her role and stressed unity with President Joe Biden. This was a good week. And this week, when we got Bipartisan Infrastructure Act passed and signed by the president, makes a statement about the hard work that has gone into it. We're getting things done and we're getting it together, she told George Stephanopoulos on ABC's Good Morning America. Asked if she felt misused, Harris said, "No, I don't," and then laughed it off. 844-967-2789. I believe she has been a little misused. I think she could play a bigger role. I think she was elected to play a bigger role. That's just one man's opinion. Want to hear yours at 844-967-2789. Be like Julie, listening on AM 950, I suspect, from Minneapolis. Julie, welcome. What do you got for us?
Hi, I just wanted to comment on and ask a question on your last topic about, I've been thinking about Carville's statement, "It's the economy stupid," for the last couple of years, waiting for the shoe to possibly drop. I'm thinking the average American, we're not really educated about the economy. I think the average American is looking at gas prices and they don't really know that OPEC sets the prices. They blame a president, Republican or Democrat. And I think the other thing is grocery prices. I think those are the two big things. And, fears of inflation. I think that's what they don't look at, people getting more jobs, lower unemployment this month. What do you think Americans look at with the economy? Thanks.
Well, I appreciate your call, Julie. I certainly think they look at their own checkbooks. And I think the American people are seeing rising prices. You can't go to the store and not see rising prices. And of course, there's lots of talk. Thanksgiving dinner going to be more expensive than ever before. I guess my in-laws, they're only doing hors d'oeuvres this year. Gives us excuse not to go to the in-laws. At least that's my hope. But anyways, we're going to still feed the family, right? So you get some more stuffing and less yams. You work it out. You figure it out. But here's what I would say. I don't think we, the American people, have a great sense of why there is a bottleneck and why it is that there are not all the consumer goods that we're used to seeing on the shelves. And in no small part, I can give you an answer. It's greed. There is a greed factor involved here. I saw it reported, I think, yesterday, Walmart. You know what? Walmart's got their supply chain going. Know why? Because they control the world's supply chain in no small part. You know who can't compete with that and are getting squeezed out? Little Main Street brokers. I got a vendor here in Madison, a good sponsor, been a friend of mine for years. Crazy Lenny. You might have heard him on this radio station once or twice. Lenny spent half his summer seeking inventory in a crate from China that had massively inflated in cost. The shipping cost had massively inflated. And if you weren't willing, I think my pal had to put up like $80,000 on the front end just to get the part shipped that he had already paid for. So the big guy, let's call him Walmart. Walmart gets what they want because they can exert the pressure. And you know what? You see it on the front page. You hear it in all the headlines. You see it on the evening news. Oh, there's supply chain issues. There's a bottleneck. Well, certainly there are at the ports. And, we could use a lot more longshoremen and troubadours or whatever they're called. But corporations are using this as an excuse to cash out bigger profits. They are. This is not a true bottleneck. This is a squeeze from corporate America on the working stiff like you and I. Mostly you, because I don't often go to the store. just fresh groceries. If I'm cooking, I'll get the groceries. Otherwise, fortunately, Mrs. Crudy does most of the shopping. I have other responsibilities around the house. 844-967-2789. I do try to help. Jake from Milwaukee, welcome. What do you got for us, Jake?
Yeah, I just want to, regarding the supply line, I work in a material handling, like receiving type fashion, and it's hard to get anybody hired in there. So, I mean, I granted it is greed because they're just using it as an excuse, but there's people don't want to do the supply chain work as much as they did before.
Well, not at the wage level being offered. My understanding.
Oh, exactly.
Let's talk about the truck drivers just for a minute, Jake, and then I'll let you go again. I saw an article in 2020 dollars under the old style truck driver used to make a wage comparable of about 10 grand a month using 2020 inflated dollars. Now they pay truck drivers like 45 grand a year, and we're down 80,000 truck drivers. I wonder why, Jake. Because they're not willing to stress their body and be over the road and do the long haul for the same sort of money. And we know there are some new drug testing policies, and there is a societal change. And a lot of people smoke marijuana now, Jake, and they don't want to go drive a truck and have to pee in a cup for the right to do their job. So they find a job in private deliveries or something else.
Yeah, I mean, it's not, Grant, I worked throughout the pandemic and I'm still working. My pay has been getting raised, which is good, but only because of the fact that we were being worked super hard. But I think a lot of these companies just don't get it yet, that the thing has changed, how the work has changed. People doing the type of work I want to do don't want to start at $15 an hour or don't want to go back into it. They want to go up to like $20 an hour. Otherwise, you're not going to get these people. I mean, if you want to get people who would rather be their own boss doing gig economy stuff and make the same money and stuff, they're fine doing that. They don't want to go back to low pay, super hard work, no thank yous, and like the lowest raises you could get ever. So I think that's part of the issue too, that businesses, big corporations don't want to penny up the money it takes to have, people to do the work.
Jake, you make excellent points. Thank you for listening. Be like Jake. Call this big show. There's more to it at 844-967-2789. The 4 o'clock happy hour commences right now.
President Trump lost the election. Joe Biden won the election.
Collectively, Republicans got 1.661 million votes, 51,000 more votes than Trump got.
He exhausted his cases. He exhausted the court challenges.
All the Republicans voted for Trump the way they voted for the assembly candidates. He would have won.
It was not rigged. It was not stolen. Donald Trump lost the election. Joe Biden won the election. It's really clear.
This message was paid for by the People for People Corporation. Donate online at p4ppc.org.
Darcy Haber, I hear you have solar panels on your office building. Since when are real estate brokers so concerned about the environment?
Drew, you should know that at Solidarity Realty, we provide outstanding real estate service while adhering to our core progressive values. Environmental sustainability is a big part of that.
So you really walk your talk, huh?
Yeah, I even walk to work.
Come on, always.
Well, sometimes I bike, and if I have an appointment across town, I use my solar panels to charge my plug-in.
Solidarity Realty. They're real, they're solid, and they're honest. Check them out at solidarityrealty.com.
You are listening to WTTN 1580 AM Columbus, W224 EG Madison, always streaming on the Devil Radio app.
AP News. I'm Ed Donahue. The defense is rested in Georgia in the murder trial of 3 white men accused of killing a black man, Ahmaud Arbery. The man who shot and killed Arbery, Travis McMichael, testified under cross-examination.
Didn't threaten you in any way?
No.
Prosecutor Linda Dunikowski questioned McMichael.
Didn't pull out a gun?
He did not pull out a gun.
Turned around and ran away?
Once he got from me to you, directed to me, once I reached into my truck is when he turned and ran away.
McMichael says Arbery forced him to make a split-second life or death decision by attacking him and grabbing his shotgun. The judge at Kyle Rittenhouse's murder trial in Wisconsin banned MSNBC from the courthouse.
Don't know what the ultimate truth of it is. That's someone who is following the jury bus. That is it's extremely serious matter.
NBC News says it was a freelance photographer who received a citation for a traffic violation that took place near the jury vehicle, and he never intended to photograph them. President Biden says the U.S. is considering whether to keep some Americans from going to the Beijing Olympics. The AP Sagar Magani has the story.
International advocacy groups and some lawmakers have called for a symbolic diplomatic boycott of the Winter Games in Beijing over China's human rights abuses.
Something we're considering.
It would not affect the participation of American athletes in the games, but rather would mean keeping high-level dignitaries away. White House spokeswoman Jen Psaki says there's no timeline for a decision.
Obviously, the Olympics are in February, and I want to give the president and the national security team a little space.
Sagar Magani, Washington.
A surge in coronavirus cases is getting worse in parts of the Midwest. Some schools in Michigan are keeping students at home ahead of Thanksgiving. The military is sending medical teams to Minnesota to relieve overwhelmed hospital staffs. The Dow finished down 60 points. This is AP News.
Finding the right Medicare plan may feel impossible, but now it's anything but. With Walgreens Find RX coverage tool, you can compare plans online, over the phone, or in person, making Medicare easier than ever. Easier than picking which true crime doc to watch, figuring out that Wi-Fi password, or putting the duvet cover back on. So if you can do those things, with Find RX coverage, you can definitely Medicare. Find the plan that's right for you by visiting walgreens.com/Medicare.
Are you wasting money on a timeshare you rarely use? Cancel it with Titan Exit Group. Get a free consultation and see how they can stop the never-ending maintenance fees and mortgage payments. In fact, if your timeshare contract is not terminated, you owe nothing, so you have nothing to lose. But those monthly fees, get legally released from your timeshare, 100% guaranteed. Call now for your free consultation at 800-200-0894. 800-200-0894.
This is Chad Spate. Are you thinking about improving or expanding your home? At Chad's Design Build, we're committed to making your home comfortable, healthy, attractive, durable, and sustainable. In fact, those commitments spell our name. And we deliver these services with our outstanding team of professionals who will respect you and your home. Visit our website at chadsdesignbuild.com to learn more about how we are building a better world, one remodeled home at a time.
Hi, I'm Jenny with Community Living Connections. We are hiring immediately with great pay and benefits. Skip the retail job and do something fulfilling. Help adults with disabilities spend the holidays in their warm and cozy homes. Help them decorate, wrap presents, and visit with loved ones. You can put a smile directly on someone's face. Join us at Community Living Connections and get started in your new career. Text Devil Radio, no spaces, to 72345. That's Devil Radio to 72345.
Hey, Dom, is your carpeting starting to have a little bit of a funk to it?
That's a bit of a personal question, Fruity.
No, I know this is really busy time for one of our sponsors, Zero Res of Madison. People want a cleaner, healthier home.
You mean spending the entire quarantine locked in with bacteria and allergens isn't healthy? Who knew?
You want to get it professionally cleaned well before it gets funky. Even if you vacuum frequently,
I vacuum a lot.
You still need to get it professionally cleaned. Schedule your carpet cleaning online at zeroresmadison.com. Tell them the Devil's Advocate sent you.
I'm Kirk Bankstad, and I own the Minocqua Brewing Company in deep red northern Wisconsin, and I have a super PAC. We make good trouble by buying billboards, radio ads, and calls to voters in northern Wisconsin. We target federal and state elections, think Ron Johnson and Tom Tiffany, and concentrate on a fair redistricting process. Give a donation now if you're able at the MinocquaBrewingCompany.com Super PAC tab. Help us make the politics of the Northwoods as clean as our lakes and streams. That's the MinocquaBrewingCompany.com Super PAC tab.
For Devil Radio, 92.7 FM and WTTN 1580 AM. I'm Luke Mathers with your headlines. On Wednesday, officials at the Wisconsin Department of Health Services urged unvaccinated Wisconsinites to get vaccinated before the holiday season and amid the current surge of COVID-19 cases and hospitalizations across the state. Health officials noted 96% of intensive care beds in Wisconsin are currently full. Data from the Department of Health Services indicates 16 Wisconsin counties are experiencing critically high transmission levels for COVID-19, up from 8 counties last week and 4 counties 2 weeks ago. As of yesterday, the 7-day rolling average for new COVID-19 cases in Wisconsin is 2,963, the highest since early January 2021, before the vaccine was widely available. Forecast of cloudy skies with a 30% chance for snow flurries today, with strong gusting winds and a high of 33 degrees. Partly cloudy skies expected this evening with an overnight low of 20 degrees. You're listening to Devil Radio 92.7 FM and WTTN 1580 AM.
Warning, you are about to listen to the greatest radio show ever. And due to contractual obligations and to shield our airwaves and corporate licensees from any semblance of liability, responsibility, and gullibility, we must tell you the views represented on this show are not necessarily those of this station or its management. This radio show contains differing points of view on current political topics, and due to the nature of its contents, it should be heard by everyone. Thank you for listening. 3, 2, 1. Now live from the Devil Radio Studios in Madison, Wisconsin, where the political party is just beginning. Welcome to the Devil's Advocate Show. Friends proving it's never personal, only politics.
Please allow me to introduce myself.
Here is your host, Mike Crute.
Welcome back. Hour 2 of the Devil's Advocates Radio Show, sliding into the Thursday 4 o'clock happy hour. Welcome to it, folks. And all eyes are upon the Kenosha courthouse. We are still waiting for the Kyle Rittenhouse jury, who have been deliberating for about 3 days now, to give us a verdict. And the later in the day we get, the less and less the likelihood that there will be a verdict today. But we do have a state senator, and I've got a little bit of news, and then we'll move on. State Senator Lena Taylor from Wisconsin called on jurors in the Kyle Rittenhouse trial to not be afraid and to do the right thing while speaking to reporters on the steps of the Kenosha County Courthouse this afternoon. Here is what Senator Taylor said. I am hoping for a jury to do what is best and do what is right and do what is just. I don't believe that the message that we should send in this case, or the Ahmaud Arbery case, is that we want vigilantes. Taylor, who's running for lieutenant governor here in the state of Wisconsin in the 22 election, said the jurors have a difficult job, and she hopes they, and this again a quote, rise to the occasion to do what is right without worrying about what may be happening outside the courtroom. She said she appreciates them answering the call to serve and taking it seriously. Now, Taylor is an attorney by trade and has served in the legislature for 18 years. She commented on Judge Bruce Schrader's handling of the case, which has come under scrutiny throughout the trial, saying she found some of his practices, and her words, unusual, but also acknowledging that he has experience in other high-profile cases. She being State Senator Lena Taylor of Wisconsin, said she was shocked when the judge dismissed the firearm possession charge against Rittenhouse. Taylor was asked to respond to people who say Rittenhouse's case doesn't have anything to do with race. And here's her response. If it was somebody that looked like me, I feel like hands down it would be handled differently, she said. Lena's black. But she said she sees why some people might not understand where she's coming from. And here is her explanation. I know it's very hard to see through somebody else's lenses, especially in a largely white state. But my lenses are real. The experience is truth. And the truth of the matter is we're all in this together. She said she hoped for a verdict that will feel like justice to the families who have lost their loved ones and those that have been harmed and those that have been victimized by this whole experience, just looking at it on the news. I guess that's the rest of us. Hopefully I haven't traumatized you folks. Waiting on the Rittenhouse verdict. I'm guessing, we're at 4:09 Central Time as you hear my voice, at least if you're catching me live. And I suspect we will not have a verdict today. My understanding is they would give approximately an hour's notice. If they had arrived at a verdict, the jury would notify the court would notify the media like a 1 hour notice. I think we're probably going to see deliberations to the end of the day. And again, a break in the process, and they'll go home and start again tomorrow. 844-967-2789, the happier 4 o'clock happy hour. always happier when you play a part. Something we have not talked about recently on this show, COVID, or at least not in regards to vaccine mandates. And I was very supportive. The president, Joe Biden, obviously said vaccine mandates for large businesses or businesses above 100 employees. And there's been lawsuits. Believe me, there have been lawsuits. But here is some of the breaking news, and we're going to talk about this topic for a bit. So if you want a part, 844-967-2789. OSHA has suspended enforcement of COVID-19 vaccine mandates for businesses. So is it a mandate if there's no teeth? The Occupational Safety and Health Administration is suspending enforcement of the Biden administration's COVID-19 vaccine mandate for large private businesses after a federal appeals court upheld a stay last week. OSHA said in a statement published on its website Friday that while it is confident in its power to protect workers amid the pandemic, it is suspending activities related to the mandate, citing pending litigation. I guess it's litigation when it comes to the courts. The court ordered that OSHA take no steps to implement or enforce the ETS, Emergency Temporary Standard, until further court order. While OSHA remains confident in its authority to protect workers in emergencies, OSHA has suspended activities related to implementation and enforcement of the ETS pending future developments in the litigation. So in other words, court told us not to do it. Now, you'll recall President Biden announced in September the administration was rolling out a new rule that would require all private employers with 100 or more employees to mandate vaccines, or, and there was an or, weekly testing for all personnel, a guideline that is a potential to impact nearly 80 million workers. But then the lawsuits. 844-967-2789. And let's just get to the phones right now. I got more on this topic. Vaccine mandates. Will they, won't they? Will the courts allow them to go forward? We'll see, but let's get back to the phones. 844-967-2789. My favorite, Ken Bob from Dalyville. Ken Bob, welcome back.
Hey, thanks. Short wait, man.
Well, I saw you. I saw you in the wings, Ken Bob, you and a few others, and I wanted to get to them before they stacked up too bad.
Okay. Well, I understand why OSHA is suspending enforcement while this.
Well, the court says they have to.
I don't think that this case has a chance. I mean, it's clearly vaccines can be mandated. Clearly, it's a workplace issue. I don't want to work around people who are bringing in a deadly infectious disease. So, but you know how it is. That New Orleans, Louisiana court is pretty Neanderthal.
Well, you're talking about the Fifth Circuit, the federal Fifth Circuit Court. That is the most conservative circuit. It encompasses, I think, Louisiana, Texas, and maybe some of the other southern states down there, Ken Bob.
Yeah, I think they're drinking bayou water.
Yeah. Well, let me ask you this. Above and beyond that, because a federal mandate of private businesses, you know, that's got our libertarian friends losing their frickin' minds. Anyone that's anti-mandate, although, all our kids are mandated to be vaccinated or they can't go to school, but setting all the logic aside, Ken Bob, you know what I'm saying? The opposite side of that is what they're trying to do in Florida, or at least the governor there. Do you see what DeSantis did today? Ron DeSantis, the governor of Florida, he signed a bill.
Yeah.
Ken Bob, he signed a bill that said effectively, if you, as a private corporation, mandate that your employees get vaccinated for COVID-19, you will be fined by the state of Florida. And he signed it into law today. And we'll get back to the phones in just a moment. Be patient. We'll keep taking your calls. 844-967-2789. I don't often go to Foxy News, but here it is. DeSantis bill signing interrupted by a "Let's go Brandon" chant. Did I tell y'all what that means? Let's go Brandon. It means F Joe Biden. Just if you didn't know. It's the clever way conservatives have figured out. It all stems from a NASCAR race, and people were chanting F Joe Biden at the driver. And some NBC reporter said, look, they're cheering for you. They're saying, let's go, Brandon. Well, now Trump's selling T-shirts, and these chants have been going out in a lot of different venues, sporting events, different places. And now apparently at a bill signing, and here's why that is more important than perhaps the let's go Brandon, is the nature of the bill being signed by the governor of the state of Florida. A crowd supportive of Florida Governor Ron DeSantis chanted, let's go Brandon, as the government prepared to sign a package, gubernator prepared to sign a package of anti-COVID-19 vaccine mandate bills Thursday in Brandon, Florida. See what he did there? Brandon, Florida. Oh, he's so clever. DeSantis signed 4 bills from the COVID-19 special legislative session into law, which will require private employers to allow vaccine exemptions, including, but not limited to, health or religious concerns, pregnancy or anticipated future pregnancy, and past recovery from COVID-19. So if you've had it, apparently you're exempted because, they're all about this natural immunity. The legislation also prevents schools from requiring students to be vaccinated, strips the Surgeon General's ability to mandate vaccines. Is that all vaccines? Suddenly we're going to have polio outbreaks and measles outbreaks, mumps, rubella, all that stuff. It's all been banned, apparently, according to these new laws. Let's see if I got that straight. And take steps for Florida to exit the Occupational Safety and Health Administration. So they don't acknowledge OSHA anymore. The federal government's got no control over Florida. Supremacy clause, kiss my ass. Nobody should lose their job due to heavy-handed COVID mandates, and we have a responsibility to protect the livelihoods of the people of Florida, DeSantis said. The crowd chanted, let's go, Brandon, after State Attorney General Ashley Moody celebrated the bill signing being held in her hometown of Brandon. Ever so clever. The significance of signing this legislation in Brandon, Florida, is not lost on the governor. DeSantis's press secretary, Christina Pushaw, said Thursday, DeSantis told Foxy News that the bill signing in Brandon was especially meaningful. We were here to celebrate a great city in the state of Florida, Freedom City, and it's important that when you have the federal government overreaching like Joe Biden's doing, that we sign legislation to protect Floridians. And doing it here in Brandon, I think is especially meaningful because I think people here really appreciate it. So we're proud to have a huge turnout of folks that came down to watch what was going on, and we're proud to be able to deliver substantively for workers in the state of Florida. Deliver COVID for everyone. You get the COVID and you get the COVID. Come back. More Devils.
Hi, this is Brad from Zero Res. If you need someone to help with your carpet cleaning, business or residence, please give us a call. We have the best system available and an amazing team of friendly technicians. Call us at 848-9000 or schedule online at zeroresmadison.com.
Hey, I'm here from Knuckleheads. Have you seen our new location yet? Come on down to 520 State Street for all your CBD needs. We have a huge selection of gummies, oils, and a variety of other CBD products. We also have a gigantic walk-in humidor. The knowledgeable staff at Knuckleheads will work with you to find exactly what you need. Mention Double Radio at checkout to get 15% off your next order. Knuckleheads, now at 520 State Street. We'll see you there.
600,000 Wisconsin families are receiving checks to help take care of their kids, thanks to the expanded child tax credit passed by Joe Biden and congressional Democrats. Ron Johnson voted against these checks for Wisconsin families, despite voting for a 2017 tax break that put more money into the pockets of millionaires like himself. It's time to vote Ron Johnson out of office. MoveOn.org political action, paid for and is responsible for the content of this advertising. Poll.moveon.org, not authorized by any candidate or candidates committee.
Gifting season is upon us, and here's an opportunity to spread the holiday joy. Ethical Trading Company is fighting to end human trafficking in the poorest areas of the world by providing a marketplace for artisans who've been freed from modern-day slavery or avoid being trafficked through this partnership. As a volunteer-ran nonprofit, every dollar spent in our physical or online store makes an impact in ridding the world of exploitation and in the lives of our artisans to perform dignified work. Check out our wide range of fair trade gifts by going to ethicaltradeco.com. Again, that's ethicaltradeco.com.
Five Nines, your local single source IT solutions provider, specializing in cloud technology, consulting, servers, networks, and hosting. We manage your IT so you can focus on running your business. Enjoy technology. Enjoy 59s.com.
In time, you will know the true power of Devil Radio 92.7. It is your destiny.
The Devil's Advocates, tackling the issues you're not allowed to talk about at the dinner table.
Welcome back to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show. Welcome back from the 420 break, one of my favorite times of the day. I wanted to talk just a moment longer about the vaccine mandates and the pushback to it, at least from one jacknut in Florida, Ron DeSantis. Quickly, again, from the Foxy News, my source. Earlier in November, DeSantis dubbed the Biden administration the Brandon administration during a press conference in Palm Beach. He's so damn clever. During Thursday's signing, DeSantis was briefly joined by a Florida second grader, Fiona Lascelles, who made headlines earlier this month after she was disciplined by her school 16 times and suspended for 36 days for refusing to wear a mask. I wasn't going to school because I was getting suspended for not wearing a mask, Fiona said at the event. Attendees in the crowd shouted, "We love you." And one man yelled, "Baby girl, you're smarter than half of the country," probably including that guy. The Biden administration finalized a mandate earlier in November requiring workers and businesses with 100 or more employees to either get vaccinated or show proof of a negative COVID-19 test. You understand there is an out clause now, right, DeSantis? It's not a mandate if you have an out clause. The federal agency that issued the rule suspended enforcement. We talked about that. OSHA suspended following a court order. And apparently Florida suspending their relationship with the federal government, or at least with OSHA, or at least they signed legislation claiming as much today. I didn't know you could do that. 844-967-2789. Let's go back to the phones. My pal Dick in the garage in Madison. Welcome back, Dick.
Well, Kurt, earlier when you were talking about the stuff that was kind of doom and gloom, and I know it looks bad, but here's a couple things I'm going to throw at you.
Show me the light.
In general, I think.
Lift me up, Dick.
Well, people are really fickle. People are very fickle. Come on. You know better than I do, in politics, a year away is an eternity, and so many things can happen.
Sure.
And could we just let the powder dry on these bills that are being signed? You know, people don't. They want all this. They want. Well, just, and I truly believe some of his problems, Biden's, are media driven. They're just looking for nothing but negative lately. Even on MSNBC, that's supposedly perceived as, liberal. I don't see it so much that way with their coverage. And let's face it, we're a year out, and he's 3 years out from facing election. Should he run again? 3 years.
But you understand how the game is played, Dick, don't you? The election has already really begun. There's already shadow campaigns in place. I mean, hell, there are Republicans that are gearing up to run. Guys like Mike Pompeo and Mike Pence, right? We know the Republicans are already gearing up.
Hindenburg's running too, and they're all in a circular firing squad. And I find it interesting, of all people, the other day, of all people, Nicole Wallace, who worked for George W. Bush, she did, and I usually can't stand her, but she did by far the best job, Crude, of taking down Chris Christie. I don't know if you got the chance to watch that interview on Wednesday, I believe, no, Tuesday.
Well, she just didn't accept his whole reclamation campaign. The guy, suddenly he's a never Trumper again? Are we to believe that, Dick?
And the other thing she would not accept, that I totally agree with her on, he just kept talking about this truth thing. And she goes, you take on truth in this book, and not one word in it is spoken to Fox News. Why is that? And he was literally, you could tell he was getting nervous, and she kept pressing him on, why nothing about Fox News? Nothing. And he couldn't answer it.
What was he
answer.
A little flop sweaty, Dick?
Oh yeah, he definitely was not having a good interview with her. And quite frankly, I thought she did a far better job. Everybody else lobbed him softballs because he's another one. He's going to run, and he's got more baggage than the the bellboy at the Waldorf Astoria. As far as I'm concerned, he's pathetic.
Dick, somebody's interfering with your call, I think, man. Some CB guy's got the hammer down. Some trucker out there on the road, perhaps. 844-967-2789. Skip the CB. Dial the phones. We'd appreciate that. I want to turn my attention here in just a moment. A couple of people sent me a headline, and I'd like to welcome some new listeners as well. We welcome our Chicagoland listeners finding us on WCPT 820 AM. And I own this little outfit here in the state of Wisconsin. We call it Devil Radio, and I appreciate the opportunity to play out in the third biggest media market in America. Chicago is a big deal. And Chicago is a quote unquote legacy, easy for me to say on a Thursday afternoon, legacy progressive talk radio station. There's only a couple of them. I look at our friends at AM 950 in Minneapolis, KTNF. Well, they were there at the launch of Air America. And our friends in Chicago, they were also there. That station owned by a guy who, threw some money behind Air America. And there is some big news, and it was shared with me more than once today. Big news, big happenings afoot for our good friends down in Chicago. And in fact, and I find some encouraging news here, because maybe we might have a fighting chance in this world. But there's an encouraging story over at the Politico. Left-wing Midwest media outlet launching with backing from a Dem donor. My God, folks, the Democratic Party, the donor class is waking up to the power of spoken word, left-wing talk. This seems unrealistic and plausible somehow. I've been out here doing this for 10 years, and I'm waiting to cash my very first Soros check. So I'm not sure if George is getting out the checkbook or who is precisely, but we'll tell you a little bit about it, and we'll congratulate our friends at WCPT 820 AM because they got big things afoot. And also, I'm going to celebrate just a little bit starting on Monday, next Monday, November 29th, the Monday after Thanksgiving. This fine product, Devil's Advocates Radio Show, in a new slot at WCPT 820 AM. The vaunted 6 to 8 p.m. time slot. It's not live, but we'll take it. Thank you, WCPT. We'll tell you all about it. Come back. Good news for lefty media.
You're listening to Devil Radio 92.7 and WTTN 1580 AM. And that's pretty cool.
Hey, Joanne, I hear you have a Tech Protect plan from Community PC.
I have been having services since 2013. He provides monthly maintenance for me. He is able to attach to my computer so he can figure out what my problems are. I'm very computer illiterate. If I had to call somebody on the telephone, I would probably not be able to follow through with that.
Community PC. We know what makes seniors happy. Hi, I'm a pleasant voice reminding you to enable Devil Radio before playing Devil Radio. First, you have to enable Devil Radio, which should be natural to Wisconsinites. Just say, Alexa, enable Devil Radio. Then firmly and confidently say, Alexa, play Devil Radio. This should conjure the Devil Radio app, available at the App Store.
Programs to climate. I'm Tim McGuire with an AP News Minute. Debate is underway in the U.S. House on President Biden's $1.85 trillion bill covering issues from child care assistance to no-cost preschool, along with combating climate change. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi.
Creates good paying jobs, how it cuts taxes for the middle class, how it lowers costs for America's working families, and how it is all paid for.
Missouri Republican Congressman Jason Smith says despite the tax increase on people making $400,000 a year or more,
it will completely change America as we know it, all at the expense of working class families.
After calling 7 witnesses, including one of 3 defendants, Travis McMichael, to testify, his attorney and those for his father, Greg McMichael, and neighbor, William Roddy Bryan, rested their cases. They are accused of murder in the shooting death of Ahmaud Arbery. Closing arguments are set for Monday in Brunswick, Georgia. I'm Tim McGuire.
Finding the right Medicare plan may feel impossible, but now it's anything but. With Walgreens Find RX coverage tool, you can compare plans online, over the phone, or in person, making Medicare easier than ever. Easier than picking which true crime doc to watch, figuring out that Wi-Fi password, or putting the duvet cover back on. So if you can do those things, with Find RX coverage, you can definitely Medicare. Find the plan that's right for you by visiting walgreens.com/Medicare.
Are you wasting money on a timeshare you rarely use? Cancel it with Titan Exit Group. Get a free consultation and see how they can stop the never-ending maintenance fees and mortgage payments. In fact, if your timeshare contract is not terminated, you owe nothing, so you have nothing to lose. But those monthly fees. Get legally released from your timeshare, 100% guaranteed. Call now for your free consultation at 800-200-0894. 800-200-0894.
For Devil Radio 92.7 FM and WTTN 1580 AM. I'm Luke Mathers with your headlines. Republicans in Wisconsin are criticizing the city of Madison for clarifying that poll workers in the city must be vaccinated against COVID-19 because poll workers are deemed employees of the city, and in September, the city of Madison passed a requirement for all city employees to be vaccinated. In a statement released yesterday, Madison Mayor Satya Rhodes Conway emphasized that poll workers are city employees, and the requirement is to ensure public health safety. The University of Wisconsin-Madison announced it is extending its campus mask mandate to January 15th due to the upcoming holiday travel and increasing cases and hospitalizations around the state. Last night, Milwaukee Brewers pitcher Corbin Burns was announced the winner of the National League Cy Young Award, claiming the award for Milwaukee for the first time since 1982. You're listening to Devil Radio 92.7 FM and WTTN 1580 AM.
The Devil's Advocates, making radio great again.
Welcome back to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show, the Thursday 4 o'clock happy hour. It rolls on. It's a little Tom Petty and you on the phones, perhaps at 844-967-2789. But I got to tell you, I've been having lots of conversations, sort of a celebratory conversations today with my friends in Lefty Media. You know, and there's just a handful of us. It doesn't take long to talk to all of my friends, like 20 minutes. And why I'm celebrating, thanks to all that shared this article with me, including Batman and Kristen and others. Left-wing media, pardon me, let me try that again. Left-wing Midwest media outlet launching with backing from a Dem donor. The outfit called Heartland Signal combines a new digital news site focused on election coverage with a progressive talk radio station. Not this one, but one of our favorites. A major Democratic donor is funding a new media outlet that launched Thursday, aimed at covering state and local races in the Midwest as the latest entrant into the growing partisan media landscape. The outfit combines Heartland Signal, a new digital news site that will focus on midterm coverage, and WCPT 820 AM, our friends, an existing progressive talk radio station with a large footprint in Midwestern states. It's all backed by Fred Eichenshiner, a Democratic donor based in Chicago, who has given approximately $100 million to Democratic causes over the last 2 decades, according to the federal campaign finance records. Now, Fred is the current owner of WCPT. This is his radio station. But my understanding, a lot of reinvestment made not just in this new digital platform, but also the station. And we're always glad to hear that. I continue from the Politico.com. It's part of a recent trend of explicitly Democratic-backed digital news projects that have popped up in the last several years as candidates and movements across the political spectrum try to speak directly to supporters, drive viral attention, and shape the media ecosystem by creating their own content instead of working through legacy outlets. Last month, Courier Newsroom, a local news group with a progressive slant, relaunched under a new media company, Good Information Incorporated, backed by Democratic mega donors Reid Hoffman and George Soros. The Pod Save America host, all Obama administration alums, built a podcasting empire during the Trump era, and Crooked Media now employs 70 people. Conservative online media is equally fast-growing space with a booming collection of news sites, podcasts, and outlets focused on social sharing. Both parties are working to fill a void left by the hollowing out of local news industry, which has spawned news deserts across the country, including in critical battleground states. But conservative dominance of the talk radio has been a source of long-running frustration for many on the left. That is my worst grievance, which the new outlet is partly addressing. It is also a reaction to the success of online media startups and personalities that dominate social media platforms. Here's a quote from Penny Vasquez. She's on at 5 o'clock in Chicago on WCPT. Conservatives have been masterful for the last 40 or 50 years of amplifying and saturating markets throughout the country. A lot of one side of the story, so this is a move towards balance. WCPT expanded its programming in recent weeks, adding new hosts and featuring interviews with DNC Chairman Jamie Harrison and Wisconsin Democratic Party Chairman Ben Wickler. We know both those gentlemen. The radio station, launched in 2005, primarily covers Illinois, but it reaches parts of Indiana, Iowa, Michigan, and Wisconsin. It draws more than 400,000 monthly online streams and has built an email subscriber base of 200,000, according to figures shared with Politico. Heartland Signal, meanwhile, has brought on 8 full-time and freelance staff to produce stories on the House, Senate, and gubernatorial races in the Midwest ahead of the 2022 elections. A memo shared with Politico says the site plans to tackle topics like President Joe Biden's signature Build Back Better legislation and how that would affect local communities, and Minnesota GOP gubernatorial candidate Paul Gazelka's history of anti-LGBTQ stances. So did you get all this? Our friends at WCPT, and as far as I'm concerned, as near as I can tell, there are only a handful of ways nationally to listen to progressive talk. And if you are not fortunate enough, like most of you folks listening on Devil Radio here in Madison or listening in Eureka, California on 1480 AM KGOE, or, AM 950 up in Minneapolis, or WCPT 820 AM, that's about it. Those are your, for the most part. And I know there are some nonprofits out there, and there's Pacifica Media, which is a nonprofit. But in terms of lefty commercial radio entities, that's it. And then there are platforms where you can hear, the sounds of Stephanie Miller and Tom Hartman and other favored lefty hosts. Things like Progressive Voices. And of course, there's Sirius XM. There's a progressive channel on Sirius XM. But that's subscription based. You got to pay for that, right? And I got to tell you, as a consumer of media, I'm a year into ownership of a Jeep. First year is free, then you got to pay for it. Well, I'm not currently. I'm not paying for it. I'm not paying for the satellite radio in my car. And some people are, but I'm not. I'm too cheap, apparently, because I'm in the radio business. I don't get paid much. But here's what I would say. WCPT is probably the biggest lefty footprint currently, at least digitally, meaning they've got more people streaming on WCPT AM 820's website than anywhere else. Probably more than Progressive Voices, probably more than our friends have in Minneapolis, certainly more than I do here in Madison. So this is sort of a big deal because you can look at this industry I'm in sort of two ways. I look at it as a way to connect locally, and we've got shows here in Madison that are directed towards the local community, at least on the state level politics. And we got some other niche shows and different platforms we try to provide. I think that's the highest and best use of the airwaves, at least the liberal airwaves. I'd like to think we control and own and dominate. But if you don't have a local progressive talk radio station, what do? If you can't get it and, get in the car, what are you going to do? Well, you try to find a stream. You try to find it on your smartphone, presumably. Well, that's also potentially where AM 820 comes in. And this newest resourcing of the left, of the good team, of the good guys for a change. It's encouraging. A little bit more from this Political article. Heartland's Signal advisors acknowledge the site will have a perspective, and that's not something we're hiding, said Tim Hogan, a Democratic consultant and senior advisor on the project. Now, I know Tim. I've been communicating with Tim. I didn't know Tim was going to get quoted in Politico. I would have said, hey, what about, a little love for the devil's advocates, Tim? But Tim has approached me about writing commentary for this new news component website. I feel like I was let in kind of on the front end that this was coming. And I had, in fact, actually written something, and first time since college. You recall, all of you that listen with some frequency, I went to the Trump rally in Des Moines, the F Joe Biden, Let's Go Brandon, 40,000 people in Des Moines, Iowa. I found it to be an eye-opening experience. I wrote about it. I sent it to my pal Tim Hogan down at WCPT, and he said, we're launching the new website soon. Apparently today. Anyways, back to Tim and his quote. The newsroom is anchored to an established progressive talk radio station in the Midwest, but its shows are grounded in facts. And this is how we catch up to conservatives who have spent decades building a network of right-leaning outlets across the country. Anyone listening here in the state of Wisconsin for long has heard me say it. There's 81 of them in the state of Wisconsin, 81 right-wing talk radio outfits. In the southeastern part of the state of Wisconsin, which is a media market of 1.8 million, Milwaukee, Kenosha, Racine, we got two righty-whitey AM talk radio outfits that are number one and number two in the ratings. And they're pulling a 19 share. And I know most of you folks don't work in the radio industry, although I'm sure our competition's listening. That's enormous. That is a really big number. That means like 1 in 5 of all radios in Milwaukee that are turned on the righty-whitey talk from 6 a.m. to midnight, all day, all night, every day. And it's invasive. It gets in your ear holes. Anyways, back to Political. Let's conclude this article. I'm celebrating. I'm happy about this. I feel like I get to play, just a minuscule small part, A, because we get to be part of the WCPT lineup at 6 to 8 p.m. And that ain't so bad. But B, also look for, some crudeisms on the website. Cole Leiter, who served as a Democratic Congressional Campaign Committee's communications director, where he was responsible for crafting positive coverage for House Democrats and pushing negative stories about House Republicans, said that, and here's his quote, "People are increasingly comfortable with news they consume coming with a helping of opinion. And simultaneously, the vacuum in local media continues to grow. Progressive news organizations have to be ready to fill that space. Otherwise, Sinclair or Fox will happily fill it for us." He continued, name-checking two conservative TV media companies. "Local news is trusted, but local news is dying," Leiter added. On social media, Democrats have fallen behind GOP voices in terms of producing, let's call it organic content, particularly on Facebook. That is content not spread by paid advertising. Conservative figures like Ben Shapiro and Dan Bongino routinely lead the list of most engaged pages on Facebook. Other conservative sites like the Daily Caller, the Washington Free Beacon have also sprung up in the last decade to generate more content from a right-leaning perspective. Metric Media, which owns hundreds of local news-style outlets, came under scrutiny after the New York Times investigation found that GOP operatives had ordered up specific coverage attacking or promoting candidates. Right's been doing this all along, folks. Moose out front should have told you. A surge in partisan media comes as trust in traditional media is at an all-time low. 6 in 10 Americans say they have some trust in national news, but the partisan divide is stark. Nearly 80% of Democrats said they had a lot or some trust in the national news, while 35% of Republicans felt the same way, according to polling from the Pew Research. Again, here's a quote. Betsy Hoover, who founded Higher Ground Labs, a progressive incubator, we're continuing to see less trust in institutions that are devoted to truer journalism. Is that a problem? Yes. But if Republicans change the way they communicate to meet that reality, and we fail to do the same, we lose the hearts and minds of voters. Been telling you this for like a decade, folks. But it's not clear, according to this political reporting, whether Heartland Signal or WCPT can grow an audience. And there's a long list of failed attempts, chief among them Air America, the progressive talk radio station. See, that's a complete mischaracterization. It wasn't a singular station. I guess technically there was a mothership, and then they built out a network, and they never had ownership. Fred owns WCPT. My friend Chad Larson owns KTNF. Crudy owns Devil Radio. We, the lefties, own our own outlets. You know, we would appreciate more support, be it George Soros or, you know, the Democratic Party, whatever the case may be. But be encouraged, folks. You know, there is change afoot. The media landscape is changing rapidly, and your friends right here at Devil Radio, we'd like to play, you know, just a small, a minuscule part, a big part in your lives. You know, we expect you to listen all day, every day, and tell Alexa, enable Devil Radio, and then play Devil Radio. And you can always hear the greatest radio show ever, the Devil's Advocates. But it only is great if you join us on the phones, 844-967-2789. The final paragraph, people have tried this before, and it's an expensive habit, I'd say, according to a Republican operative. But the tit-for-tat arms race continues. Glad to see the lefties are, you know, finally bringing something more than a pillow to a gunfight. Come back with us. One last segment of the Devil's Advocates today. Then my good friend Earl Ingram. He's a progressive voice you can trust. He comes up next. And then Native Roots Radio and fine programming like Lay of the Land with Nate Timms. More Devils. I'll be back.
Hi, this is Brad from Zero Res. If you need someone to help with your carpet cleaning, business or residence, please give us a call. We have the best system available and an amazing team of friendly technicians. Call us at 848-9000 or schedule online at zeroresmadison.com.
At Chad's Design Build, our tagline is building a better world, one remodeled home at a time. Simply stated, we want to be a part of the solution to leave the world better than we found it. That's why we've invested in a 20 kilowatt solar array, which provides over 90% of our electrical demand at our shop, office, and design studio. And that's why we invest in local causes which provide opportunities and which confront structural inequality. At Chad's Design Build, we are proud to partner with you, building a better world, one remodeled home at a time.
Hey, this is Rocker, and I'm back on the patio at Salvatore's Tomato Pies on East Wash. I'm having a brand new cocktail you just have to try. It's called Divide and Concord. It features Rocker vodka along with Concord grape, thyme, St. Elizabeth's dram, and a touch of lemon lime. Ask for it by name, Divide and Concord, at Salvatore's Tomato Pies. Find Rocker vodka and Rocker rye whiskey at Vic Pierce on Sherman Avenue. Please drink responsibly.
The cold weather is coming, and for a lot of Wisconsinites, that means hibernating inside your house and praying for a good football season. But you could have an unwelcome guest in the house, and I don't mean a Vikings fan. I'm talking about radon, the second leading cause of lung cancer. Now, don't panic. You can work around it, but first you have to find out if you even have it. Work with the pros at Orion Inspections. That's Orion, like the constellation, not the Irish guy. Schedule your test today at orioninspections.com.
Greetings, everyone. This is Nate Tim inviting you to my show, Lay of the Land, about life and politics in rural Wisconsin. Join me every Thursday at 7 p.m. Join me this week for my special guest, Bill Hodseth. See you then.
I'm so glad you're listening to Devil Radio. It makes me so happy.
come on, man. And with the local DDC.
Occupy didn't start on Wall Street. It started on our street, the Devil's Advocates.
Don't call it a comeback.
Welcome back to the Devil's Advocates radio show. The coolest of all the radio shows you will listen to today, I assure you. But it's always a little bit cooler when you join us, and there's still time for your phone calls. 844-967-2789. Going back to them, Joe from Madison, you're next. Welcome, Joe. What do you got for us?
Oh, happy day. This is wonderful news. Thanks for sharing this. This is great information about a breakout on the progressive radio side. And I really would encourage you not to describe your contribution, as you said, describing it as little contribution. Are you kidding me? You've kept us afloat for a long, long time. I encourage you, they talked about needing your insight by doing some written pieces. Man, I think that some of your audio pieces are just absolutely terrific, such as the audio piece of going to the Trump rally in Iowa, and really encourage you to just send it out as an audio piece and run it that way. Man, it was wonderful. And I think it also speaks to, she's nagging yet again, the importance of advertising and a little bit of merch that we could buy that says Devil's Advocate Radio.
Maybe a Christmas miracle, Joe. I got the team working on some swag. The last round we had like 300 t-shirts. We gave them away all through the summer of love. We weren't selling them so much as, just sharing the love. But Joe, maybe we'll get some saleable merch, and then people can have them on demand, because, giving it away for free doesn't put any money in Crudy's pocket.
That holiday time, time for people to pony up with it, open the purse and there you are, pony up. So I would say summer of love's over. We're into the summer of money now. So go for it, buddy.
What better way to celebrate Jesus Christ's birthday than a Devil Radio t-shirt?
I couldn't agree more. Good news, Crudy, and please keep us informed as this continues. We're very anxious to hear how this goes and support you 100% on this, okay?
Well, thank you, Joe. And I suspect, appreciate you listening. I suspect with the Thanksgiving holidays upon us, and, we got some guys off, and then it's December, and, can't beat Santa Claus. But, I know you folks are the most engaged of all the political junkies like myself. You're always there with me, and I appreciate you for being so. But also coming up in the new year, I suspect there will be new and better and more news, because we'll be able to contribute to what they're doing, the Heartland Signal and the WCPT partnership in Chicago. I'd like to think I'll be a contributing partner. And Joe, in some small way, is, about the only self-deprecating things I ever say on the radio, because I'm quite full of myself, as you might know. 844-967-2789. Here in the state of Wisconsin, the battle for control of the legislature, it goes on. The Republicans passed their legislative maps, and Tony Evers has officially vetoed them, sending the redistricting process to court. But as the headline here, and I found this at the urbanmilwaukee.com, the headline questions, but which court? Of course, the Democrats would like the federal courts that, have precedent. They've done this before. But suddenly the state Supreme Court would sure like to throw themselves in the mix, contrary to other rulings that they shouldn't have original jurisdiction. And, they don't want to politicize the mapping process until they do. And now they do. Governor Tony Evers vetoed Republican-drawn political maps Thursday. That's today, folks, setting the stage for a legal battle that will decide Wisconsin's legislative and congressional districts for the next decade. The maps passed last week by the Republican-controlled legislature were described by Republicans as least changes approach. What a new philosophy, because they had massive changes to create the current gerrymandered map, and now they want least changes because they like the way it is, retaining as much as possible of the previous maps while adjusting for population. The previous maps passed in 2011 have been described by experts as one of the most severe partisan gerrymanders in the country. Evers all but guaranteed to veto the maps. I've said all along I'd veto these maps if they came to my desk. Evers said in a video veto message, they're gerrymandering 2.0. Now the maps will be sent to the court, but it's unclear which court will be the one ultimately to resolve the matter. There are cases pending in both federal and state courts. Republicans, I mentioned this, want the Wisconsin Supreme Court, where conservatives hold a 4-3 majority. That's where they want the case decided. On Wednesday, that court issued an order outlining key dates for the case and setting a date for a potential hearing in mid-January. Why so long? Let's get this show on the road and onto the federal courts, to my opinion. Democrats want the matter dealt with in the federal court, which has a long history of resolving redistricting disputes and drawing maps. The 3-judge panel hearing Wednesday's case had initially indicated it would hold a trial in January, but has since backed off, indicating it will yield to the state courts for now. Hopefully it's a for now and not a forever. Federal courts, that's where this belongs. That is where they've always been heard. And the state courts, they're freaking partisan. Who trusts the state court in the state of Wisconsin anymore? Not this guy. 844-967-2789. Perhaps one last thought for the day. Evan, what do you think of the presidential tradition of bringing a couple of turkeys to the White House and then pardoning them at the White House? And this year we've met the turkeys. They've been unveiled, the soon to be honored turkeys. They are peanut butter and jelly.
Well, now we got to do it. Now we've met them. America has fallen in love with the turkeys. We got to pardon them.
How can you eat a turkey once you know the turkey's name?
Yeah. How cruel.
I would have a hard time. Like if I were a farmer and I got some friends, and Jeff, you're one of my favorite farmer friends, but I would wonder, and I don't know if I've ever asked Jeff this. Do you name the animals on the farm? Do you sit down for a prime rib roast of Bessie on Christmas Eve or maybe Thanksgiving, or eat Tom the turkey? Tom was a good turkey, especially with, the butter glaze and the stuffing. I just wonder, is that just a little too weird? I would think that might be just a little too weird. The Rittenhouse jury, if we hadn't confirmed, they're done for the day. No verdict in the Rittenhouse trial coming down today. They'll go at it again tomorrow, day 4 of deliberations. And Fridays around here, we air the grievances. Can't wait for you to join me. And hopefully I'm going to have some fine guests. I'm looking towards some of my legal eagles because I got a feeling about Friday. And next week being, Thanksgiving week, Turkey week. If I were sitting on a jury and it's getting close and it's Friday and we're going into, what could be a holiday weekend, and maybe I got to travel to grandma's house and, go eat Tom the turkey, I'd want to reach a verdict. And I'm not saying, they should be unduly pressured just because Thanksgiving and Black Friday and that stuff's coming up. But I got to think those things factor in. We've all got in-laws. We've all got turkey to eat and places to go to. And of course, listening to the Devil's Advocates radio show. I appreciate you all doing so today. Stick around. Earl Ingram Stacks, the Native Roots Radio, the Lay of the Land, the Rural Caucus effort led by Nate Timms. Keep it locked.
Hey folks, Stephanie Miller here. As an enlightened progressive, you know how important it is to do business in accordance with your politics. That's why Solidarity Realty is my favorite real estate firm in Madison. Solidarity Realty is